we are going to talk about creativity as a healing source. Are you interested or what? I mean, I am super excited because I love being creative and I love healing. And who doesn't, right? Like, we all have a creative side to us. Some explore it, some are inhibited to do so. But nonetheless, doesn't mean that we aren't creative. And nonetheless, it doesn't mean that there's nothing left in us to heal, right? No matter how happy we are, there'll always be something that we'll be holding on to that needs healing, right? So, before we dive into the topic, I'd like to share that if you're somebody who hasn't subscribed to my channel, do not know who I am. Hi, my name is Pranita Rao. I am a former dentist, a published science author, an intuitive abstract artist, an energy worker, and a coach and a healer for highly sensitive people. And I also happen to be an intuitive abstract artist. So I do know a little bit about creativity since I have published a book and I have paid and have been a trained artist. I'm a trained artist. Uh, so, are you ready to explore creativity, but in a different lens, from a different lens, a lens of healing? We often look at creativity as a activity, right? Like if somebody says, have you been creative this week? You'd be thinking of, oh, have I journaled or have I painted or have I written something or have I sort of cooked a meal for myself or anything that is creativity for you. Have I done some pottery? Whatever. But how often do we actually notice the healing that takes place when we are creative, right? With all our senses, how often are we focusing on that, right? And then when we don't focus on that and when we miss out on understanding the impact creativity can make on our healing, uh, then we don't feel motivated to restart or be creative again. And which is why we can have creative blocks. We can feel as though creativity is not really necessary, it is not a priority in our lives. But actually, it is, and it must be given importance, right? Uh, and I have to say that when I was younger, it's a bit of a personal story, and I'm sure you have your own sort of story about why you either fear being creative, you don't think you can be creative, you hate creativity, or you feel as though artists, you have like a bias about artists, like artists are certain type of personalities who aren't sort of sane. I don't know. A lot of people have biases against artists, towards artists. So whatever it is, it's important to know that being creative doesn't have to be a task, a marked activity where somebody is behind you trying to mark you for how well you have painted or how well you have drawn something. It has more to do with how well does it make you feel, right? How, what impact does it have on your energy body, on your emotional body, on your cognitive body? And do you feel more uh, calmer after you've been creative, or do you feel more self-loving after you've been more creative? These are some questions and sort of realizations we need to have, right? uh, so let me share a quick story about my childhood, right? So when I was younger, I felt as though I cannot be creative at all. And um, my parents at that time put me in a drawing class. and uh, it was all right. And even the drawing classes in my school were all right. They were not really fun for me. They were not really my thing. I really enjoyed, say, biology, but I did not enjoy drawing necessarily. And we had this sort of 1 hour period called SUPW. I don't know if you're in India, the Indian schools have SUPW. I can't remember the full form, but it's something related to do with art. So it was that bad. Can you imagine somebody who's an intuitive abstract artist today? I can't remember the name of my art class in school. Uh, I had no inclination towards art to the point that I had sort of disowned the art teacher, and it felt as though I never belonged to anything related to art or being creative, um, because it didn't feel like me. I never saw a natural talent come out when I was younger. So I felt that creativity is not for me. I'm more of a logical person. Science is for me. Analytical thinking is for me. That's my strength. Those are my strengths. But creativity, I can't be creative. And that was my belief system when I was younger. And for many people, that could be the same story. When we are younger, we don't find the right creative path for ourselves, which is why we feel as though we are not creative, right? Uh, but that's okay, right? That's okay, because creativity is not really a box where you sort of stick to just one form of art. When I was younger, nothing worked for me in the umbrella of creativity. But when I grew older, I realized the importance of it. I realized in my late 20s. And until then, I was not at all serious about what creativity brings to the table, um, especially in regards to healing, emotional wellness, physical wellness, sleep, food, mental health, energetic health, psychic health, sexual health. So many elements to it. I never had a clue. And that's okay again. I did not have anybody to follow back then. There was nobody in my house who would speak about these topics. I didn't have a teacher at school who would encourage such topics. And have friends growing up were who they would speak about creativity, but not in the way I perceive creativity now, or not in the way it was healthy for me back then. Again, I'm not trying to blame my environment, but I am definitely saying that I do realize why I did not understand the importance of it. And for many of us, that is the problem, right? It's not that we want to dis being creative, but we don't realize the importance and the impact it can make in our life, and the simplicity of it as well, right? So when I grew up, I was in my early 20s and I just finished dentistry, and I realized that my brain was fried. A, B, that I cannot continue being a dentist because my brain was frying to an extent that I was developing mental health issues. And I realized that I wanted to take a different route. I wanted to do something creative. And by then, for 5.5, 6 years, 7 years actually, 2 years gap, I was in this shell, right, of science and biology and anatomy and dentistry and all of that. Although there were parts that were creative, but not creative in the sense that I needed. And then when I took a different path, I started writing. I started writing science stories, and my imagination bloomed. It just bloomed. And I realized that I was suddenly creative. There was a part in me that was so imaginative and so sort of passionate about being creative, about utilizing all my creative skills, right? And a part in me that could spend almost 6 hours writing straight. Of course, tons of coffee involved, but nothing else mattered to me. And I could do that because I realized that it was impacting my senses in a way. It was healing my nervous system. Just imagination, sheer imagination was healing my nervous system. It was helping me process unprocessed emotions, reflections, memories, thoughts, incidents. And I started off with a crime thriller novel. Writing a crime thriller novel is nasty. I can't look at crime anymore because of my spiritual path. But back then, that was, I think, that was like 7 years ago. I was into crime and I wrote like really horrifying crime stories. But it really helped me. Writing helped me. And although the stories were scary, but it was stemming from my imagination that was not used for years, for decades. It was stemming from parts of my heart, my mind, my soul that were waiting to express themselves, and without which I assume that I was feeling repressed, like I had repressed a lot of my emotions, my personality inside of me, which was causing a lot of emotional health challenges for me. And then things got even better. I started writing science stories, science short stories. That started igniting my cognitive parts as well of my brain and my creative parts. And the healing became more finer, more centered towards what I needed. And again, it had no sort of, I was not able to follow somebody's writing. Maybe Jeffrey Archer, I was really inspired by Jeffrey Archer's stories, but other than that, it was all my imagination. And it helped me realize that there's a part in me that was intelligent, creative, imaginative, but also the same part knew how it could heal me, knew how I had to imagine, reflect, write so that I could heal. And then a few years later, when I found out that I was highly sensitive, I learned art, abstract art. The painting behind me is, by the way, done by me. Uh, and it made so much more sense because I was able to express my vivid emotions, my abstract emotions, emotions that had no label, thoughts that had no label, energy that I did not know whose it was, all of it on the canvas. And isn't it a beautiful experience to have a space like a canvas which gives us the freedom to not really label our emotions, thoughts, energies, even psychic perceptions, our imaginative perceptions, and gives us the freedom to just share. And sometimes that's what's required for us to heal. Which is why I vouch for creative ways of healing. Now, these are my definitions of creativity, by the way. You could have a very different definition, right? For example, you could be creative in a different sense. A lot of people have inclination towards music. I love music too. Uh, my favorite genre is pop. What's yours, by the way? Do drop it in the comment section below. I'd love to know. But there was this highly sensitive person I met, and he said, I can't do without music. I need it all the time. And I get that because I do that as well. Like, it's always playing. The song is always playing in the background or in my ears. Because my brain needs that creative stimulation. There have been times, I'm not joking, especially in the past few weeks, where I've slept playing Anne Marie songs. You know Anne Marie? Uh, she's this singer from the UK, and it just helps me sleep. And I need that stimulation for my brain. Similarly, you could be creative in a very different sense, exactly in the way your nervous system needs you to be creative. And if you're especially sensitive, highly sensitive, inclined towards being highly intuitive or psychic, chances are that you need a very different nervous system care routine, something that involves creativity, non linear thinking, and non linear acting. Because when we're always acting and thinking in a linear fashion, a linear manner, it's too straight of a path for our brain to perceive it as interesting, or for our brain to catch our attention. Whereas when we are non linear, it gives us more freedom to express ourselves, to be more imaginative, to be more bold, to express new ideas, uh, think unconventionally. And creativity does that. No matter what form of creativity you pick up, you will end up thinking unconventionally, speaking unconventionally, viewing the world in a very different light. Sometimes being the person who points out, oh, this is wrong. Oh, this is right. Oh, this could be changed, right? And you have such reflections a lot when you're writing and painting. I've experienced so many insights, so many sudden perceptions. And as a highly sensitive person or a sensitive person, it might help you to utilize your gifts, your high sensitivity and your empath nature to channel all your energy, excess energy, unwanted energy, others' energy, repressed emotions, thoughts, in a way, something beautiful comes out of it. Maybe it's an artwork, maybe it's a writing piece or a story, maybe it's a pot, like you're into pottery, maybe it's a music beat, maybe you can write lyrics. I once attended an open mic and somebody who beatboxed. That's creativity as well. Maybe it's singing. Whatever floats your boat. And why not? Right? And you might be unsure where you have the time in your schedule. But when it comes to our nervous system, if you're highly sensitive or inclined towards it, you need to make time for your nervous system to be regulated. Especially if you have a working environment, or you're prone to work in a very logical linear way, or you're all the time on the laptop or on your phone, your nervous system can be extremely stimulated, and you might feel the need to do something different. I have met so many people in the past, just I think 2, 3 years, continuously keep telling me about their jobs being really bad, they're being overstimulated, overworked, overwhelmed, right? And then we carry that every single day and then the next day. But what you could do is to just paint it out, write it out, heal yourself through it. I just mentioned open mics. I love how open mics become a healing space. If you've ever attended an open mic, when you go there, there are people who express their deepest, saddest, harshest emotions through poems, stories, singing songs, and you can feel their energy. There's so much coming out, right? And as somebody who is highly sensitive, we might have a lot of rage that we don't know of. We might have a lot of grief that we don't know of. We might have a lot of pain that we're not aware of. We might have a lot of sadness, fear that we've repressed. And creativity, expressing all of that, can heal us. It can make us feel more human because we realize that we are not okay with something. We're not okay with certain circumstances in life, certain people, situations. And often we need that realization to stop, be creative so that we get a point, get to a point where we have an insight about our life that our inner child, our inner self, our higher self, our angels are trying to give us. Hey, this is not good. We need to do something about it, right? And it's quite sudden. You might start painting one day or writing one day. Not necessarily the first day you would get a reflective message or an insight. Maybe not the second day, even. Maybe not the third day, even. But eventually, you'll come to a point where you're writing or you're painting becomes your messenger, your healing tool. Wouldn't you want that? A healing tool just for yourself, always accessible to you. It's free of cost, mostly. If you're, unless you're into really fancy painting, then you would have to invest in fancy art material. But otherwise, it's not really expensive. Um, so, what is holding you back to be creative? Is it your barrier that makes you feel that you can't be creative? Do you have a similar story like mine from my childhood where I shared I did not think creativity could be a part of my life? But years later, my life's very different. So, if you have a barrier, an internal block that tells you that you can't be creative, here's an exercise that you can do. Think of a time when there was a problem in your life. It could be any problem, like just any problem throughout your life, and you just remember it right now. and think of a problem that you solved. All right, it's not some a problem that somebody else solved, but it's a problem that you have already solved in your life. Think of this time already as an achievement, that you've already achieved uh, solving something. And once you acknowledge that, check if you've used your creative part of your brain to solve that problem in any way, even if it was really tiny element of that problem solving. And if you didn't for that problem, pick another problem where you know that you have used your creativity. Something, and yeah, creativity doesn't have to be necessarily you wrote something or you painted something or did pottery. It could be something unusual, something non-linear, something most people wouldn't have done, something um, quite radical, even, right? That's creativity too. When you read poems, look at art, it can seem very radical. A lot of people have an opinion about the artwork where there's an artist, can't remember his name, put up a banana on a canvas. That was art. He taped it with a silver tape. And it's very controversial. But it was a statement. Something of that sort, where your solution was a statement to a belief, a societal belief, a familial belief, a social belief, professional belief. And if you have, you've already been creative. So you can't really tell yourself that you've never been creative in your life. So what do you do now? Well, you have two choices. If you've got an answer that you have been creative, you can either believe that fact or keep believing your inner chitter chatter, or somebody has ever told you that you can't be creative and not good at creativity. That person and their fears and their inhibitions, their beliefs. The choice is yours, right? And once you do that, once you pick, and if you've picked the fact that you are indeed creative and given yourself the proof, ask yourself, how are you going to start being creative today to heal yourself? And we could speak about art being a beautiful way of expression, which it is, and I have spoken about it briefly in one of my videos. But this space is mostly about healing, about processing things. So, how are you going to use your creativity to heal yourself today or process something? When you find the answer to that, shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes, by the way. Make sure you act on it. Please do. It's a humble request from my end. Because that's how you will realize the importance and impact of creativity as a healing tool in your life. Here's another fact, and I'm not joking. There was a time when I used to visit so many coaches, one after the other, uh, because I felt that I needed support, which is not wrong. You should go. I'm a coach, so I'm not trying to diss coaches, but I did feel the need for constant hand holding support. Uh, and I just kept going on and on and on and on and on for years, for decades. Right? It started at 18 when I would start seeing therapists. And then it was going on till I was 29. Until I started realizing that my canvas could also be my coach and therapist. It could listen to me, could advise me through my intuition, could slow things down for me. It could heal me, help me process information. And I've had a similar experience with writing as well. And cooking too. So, which is why I'm emphasizing. If you're somebody who is tired of external help, which I understand, uh, try this and see where it takes you. Nothing to lose, only a skill to gain, right? So, I hope that you enjoyed watching this video about creativity as a healing tool. And if you did, please do share your takeaways as to if you had a reflective movement, and if you felt as though this video broke a barrier for you, if you had a sudden important realization, or you had a feeling that you could be creative, especially if you you shut down your creative side for years because you believed something that was false, maybe didn't really realize the importance of creativity, but now you do. Share all of that in the comment section below. I'd love to know, and I'll definitely reply back to you. And if you found that this content helped you, please do like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I go live every single day, Monday to Saturday, at 7 p.m. IST. It used to be 9 p.m. until last week I realized it was delaying my sleep time, and I was getting overstimulated and cranky in the morning. So now I moved it to 7 p.m. So if you're interested, please join me. I'd be taking up a topic every single day and speaking about it. Somebody today, people keep asking me how I do this. I make a lot of content. I also blog, which has slowed down since my YouTube journey. But I also have two other channels. One is called The Unicorn Way. It's a channel about YouTube channel about unicorn spirit guides, and another YouTube channel which is brand new about trees, receiving tree Reiki from trees and Celtic alder trees specifically. The channel for that is called Tree Babble. If you're interested, you can check out the links. It's in the comment section below, and the pin to the comment section below, and also in the description of this video. And subscribe if you're interested, that is. And if you think that you are a nature lover, you love trees, you'd like to receive Reiki, and if you're fascinated by unicorns and unicorn spirit guides and even baby unicorns, right? Feel free to subscribe to all three channels if you'd like to. No obligation, by the way. And make sure that if you do end up recognizing your creative talent, using it to heal yourself, even if it's a week later, make sure you share that in the comment section below as to what happened. Did you process something? Did you learn something about yourself? Did you have an insight? Let me know. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. Again, my name is Pranita Rao. I am a coach and a healer for highly sensitive people, and I work with tools like Reiki, intuitive abstract art, angelic healing, and coaching to support highly sensitive and sensitive individuals, psychic empaths, to move from a place of self-neglect to self-love. If you're somebody who's interested in private coaching sessions with me, please book your paid private call using the link in my YouTube channel bio. My hourly sessions start from $500 per hour, and I cater to clients globally. And I would love to meet you. Okay, I'm going to say bye, and I hope you have a great day ahead today. And if you're interested, do join the live sessions coming on this week.